Andrew Filipponi and I both believe the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. I reserve the right to change that opinion before the regular season. Maybe I've just been fooled here, but it feels to me like there's a little bit of magic building. And it just feels like they have a really good roster. Like, I think people don't talk. They already have established star power in TJ Watt, Minka, Hayward. I think Highsmith is on the verge of real stardom. I almost think people have gone the other way on this guy. Like, he'll never do that again. How do you know? He's still an ascending player. George Pickens has star power, I believe. And most importantly, Kenny Pickett has star power. He's better. I think he's going to be better, I should say, than I thought he was going to be. I agree with Ben. Ben had Pickett on his podcast and told him that. He said, "You surprised me." Like, we all saw Kenny Pickett in college, right? I didn't hate that they took him 20th overall. I didn't see a budding star there. I do now. How about you?
Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett is one of the smartest guys and works hard at this. And now that he's had a whole year under his belt to do it, and he knew coming in there were no roadblocks as there were last year, he never really got a chance in preseason or training camp. He was playing with guys that he wasn't going to play with, and I think that helps too. So now he knows that going into it, and he's smart enough to know how this gets done in terms of own this group. He's good with all of them. He communicates with them all. He has the personality and the competitive fire, and he really has that. It doesn't necessarily show on a regular basis, but when it does, like I remember the hit last year was at Buffalo when he got up, or a Raven guy, I forget what game it was, where he got up after he took a shot to the knees and he went right after the guy who,
it was the Bills.
Was it the Bills game? Yeah. And that shows you a lot. And then, his guys around him understand that dude is not going to take crap, and he's going to. So, but the thing that really was impressive this preseason was his accuracy, and I think even more so the willingness to go down the field. This is going to be the key to them. As I told you last night, Joe, I think if they do have some failures down the field, whether that's an interception, incompletion, they should not shy away from it. They've shown they have guys who can go down there and make plays. Big height advantages, take advantage of that. They have speed. They have a lot of things over the middle, which can really make it difficult on other defenses. So there's a lot to be, but I will caution you that preseason is preseason, and they did go up against backups largely in Tampa and backups completely in Atlanta, and a Buffalo team that was so generous with 13 penalties, they look completely out of whack. So I think you have to factor that in.
I'm not basing it on the preseason. Like, that helped augment my opinion.
No, I think
I had 11 wins before then, and again, I think you win with stars in every sport. And let's take Pickens, for example. I think he's going to be a star.
I do too. So ask yourself, do you think he'll be a top 5 receiver at the end of this year?
He'll be close. He'll be top 10.
But that's only if Matt Canada and his offense utilizes him enough in that regard.
Sure.
And he has to get more targets.
Absolutely.
I think the MVP of this offense this year will be Allen Robinson.
I like him too.
Because I think he gives them something that they haven't really had, a professional at it. And if he's healthy,
But again, you win with stars.
Right.
And I think they're going to have a guy who can make plays when it looks like there's no play to be made. And I think we're going to be talking about George Pickens if, like you said, if they have the type of offense that lends itself to making him a star, because he's right there, Folsey. And when I look at this roster, I don't know that there's many, certainly in the AFC, that has more star power. You could argue Cincy. Kansas City has the best player for sure. But after that, I honestly think this team's in the mix, and it's just a vibe above and beyond that I think I can feel going into this season. I think they're going to be really good.
I agree with most of what you're saying here, and I always want to try to temper my expectations or try to tamp myself down because I'm in Pittsburgh. Grew up a Steelers fan, and so I don't want to get caught up in all the hype too much. But Bob brings up a good point that after Chase Claypool left, the targets didn't go up for George Pickens. That's a problem, and that absolutely needs to be fixed.
But they had a dumbed-down offense for an unprepared quarterback who was thrown into the mix. Now they have a quarterback who's had a whole year, a whole off season to gain an understanding of his offense, to gain a rapport with his. It's totally different.
I hope that's the case. I hope it's all those reasons that you said, and it's not just Matt Canada not knowing how to utilize his players. And we'll see that throughout the season. I've kind of swung the other way to almost cautiously optimistic about Matt Canada now that he's got Kenny Pickett there and some weapons around him that they can be better. But I think from the very beginning, Kenny Pickett had some loose connections or comparisons to Joe Burrow. Small hands. Tony Racioppi said about, how they were similar style players. People laugh at that, and I think they're still not in the same category. But man, now that Pickett's making more decisive decisions, and his decision-making has gotten better. His accuracy is there. He's got more zip on the ball, like you're saying. He's getting more comfortable in the offense. He can start to look a little bit more like Joe Burrow if he's not the same caliber of player, and that is exciting.
I think their best attribute going into the season was surrounding Kenny Pickett with what he needed, and that's offensive line first and foremost. To me, Seumalo was this tremendous signing that allowed them, and bringing in Nate Herbig as a guy behind, made it clear that one of those two, Kendrick Green or Dotson, was going to not be here. Now, Dotson's been traded. We can talk about the merits of that trade, but does it mean for you that Kendrick Green is now on this roster? Because it seems like, if anything, that's a kind of a circumvent, get in back door way of making the roster.
Yeah,
but who else do they?
You're going to see 100 players released in the next 24 hours. I think they'll bring in. They
made 8 more cuts just now too, by the way, including Kenny Robinson, who's somebody I thought would make that.
Wow, we'll keep you updated on that as the day goes along.